You'll be the same person 5 years from now as you are today, except for two things: the people you meet and the books you read. Welcome to the Levers Podcast. And this quote is what inspired me to start this podcast. I started taking reading seriously when I was a junior in high school. And since then, the books I've read have shaped me into a completely different person. They've changed my life in ways I could have never imagined. And the reason is that every great book has given me a new idea, a new mental model, or a new way of seeing the world. That's what this podcast is going to be about: finding those ideas, connecting them, and figuring out how we can actually use them in our own lives. I was lucky in my reading journey because I was steered towards some amazing books early on. Books like The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, Poor Charlie's Almanac, Seeking Wisdom, Anti-Fragile, The Rational Optimist, Beginning of Infinity, and many more. These books cover very different subjects, but I think there is something that most great books and authors have in common. They are always trying to strip away assumptions, explain how some part of the world actually works, and pass that knowledge on to the reader. Often, that knowledge comes in the form of mental models. Throughout this podcast, I will sometimes use the words idea and mental model interchangeably. They are not technically the exact same thing, but when I talk about an idea, I'm usually talking about an idea that gives us a useful way to understand the world. A mental model is basically a construct or a framework that helps you understand how reality works. The goal is to collect enough of these models that when you face a difficult situation or decision, you can look at it from multiple angles and pull from the models that are most useful. For example, imagine you're looking at a possible investment. There should be a variety of mental models that you can draw from across different disciplines. You may need to think about incentives, competition, customer behavior, economies of scale, opportunity cost, technological change, and the risk of permanent capital loss. Each model helps you see a different part of the company: its business model, its customers, its market, its product, and ultimately whether it may be a good investment. That is just one example, but once you begin collecting and using mental models, it becomes hard to stop because you can feel yourself slowly building what Charlie Munger called worldly wisdom. I've come to believe that making sound decisions often depends on being able to recognize which mental models are relevant to the situation in front of you. But there is a huge caveat, and this is going to be one of the most important themes of the podcast, which is you always need to maintain a skeptical frame of mind. You need to ask, what am I missing? What if I'm wrong? What evidence would prove me wrong? Am I actually using this model to understand reality, or am I using it to justify something I already believe? Mental models are only powerful when they're combined with intellectual honesty. You should always be willing to challenge your own ideas and try to prove yourself wrong. Otherwise, the same models that are supposed to help you think more clearly can become another way to fool yourself. All it takes is one idea to change your life. My goal with every episode is to give you at least one idea that helps you make a better decision, understand something more clearly, or choose a better path, however you define that for yourself. In each episode, I'll cover a book, an essay, or a blog post. I'll try to extract and distill 3 to 5 of the most useful ideas within it. But more importantly, I want to connect those ideas across disciplines and show how mental models build on one another. Charlie Munger once said, "The first rule is that you can't really know anything if you just remember isolated facts and try and bang them back. If the facts don't hang together on a latticework of theory, you don't have them in a usable form." That idea is really at the center of what I'm trying to build here. I don't want to simply give you isolated facts, quotes, or book summaries. I want to show how ideas connect and how they can become a part of a larger framework for understanding the world. An idea about evolution might help us understand competition in business. An idea about incentives might help us understand politics, organizations, or our own behavior. An idea about compounding might apply not only to investing, but also to knowledge, relationships, reputation, and skill. The goal is to slowly build a latticework of ideas that you can use in your own decision making. I want each episode to be rich in information, but still clear and practical. I want to leave you with something that stays with you after the episode is over. And of course, I also need to make one thing very clear. Basically, all the ideas I talk about should be attributed to the authors and thinkers who originated them. At most, what I'm doing is synthesizing ideas, drawing connections between what I've read, and trying to explain those connections in a useful way. I do not take any credit for their brilliance. My job is to study their work carefully, give credit where it's due, and hopefully make their ideas easier to understand, connect, and apply. And whenever I'm offering my own interpretation, opinion, or speculation, I will try to make that clear as well. This podcast is for people who are constantly trying to gain worldly wisdom. It's for people who are addicted to learning, who enjoy reading deeply, and who are always trying to improve the way they think. Maybe you're running a business, trying to build one, trying to perform better at your job, working on an important project, or simply trying to make a positive impact in the world. You do not need to be an expert in philosophy, science, investing, business, or any other subjects we'll cover. You just need to be curious and willing to listen and question your assumptions. If that sounds like you, then you're in the right place. I think the best way to get value from these episodes is not just to listen to them and move on to the next thing. Try to take one idea from each episode and apply it. Write it down. Think about where it might show up in your own life, your work, or the decisions you're currently facing. Also, think about where the idea might fail. Every useful model has limitations, and part of learning how to think well is learning when an idea applies and when it does not. And I would also love to hear what you're reading, what you're working on, and what ideas or questions you want me to explore in future episodes. If this sounds interesting to you, subscribe to the channel, follow the podcast, and check out my blog. The people we meet and the books we read have an enormous influence on who we become. My hope is that this channel can help introduce you to both great thinkers and great ideas. And if every episode gives you just one idea that helps you see something differently or make a better decision, then I think it'll be worth doing. Thank you for listening. Let's get started.